Hey, welcome to the second video of the Design Day workshop series, Visual and Product Design. Today we'll be talking about design principles, learning the UX design process, and how to sketch wireframes. Let's get started. So let's start by finishing this sentence. For a couple seconds, feel free to pause this video and think about what visual design is. So visual design serves three purposes: to establish credibility, communicate a brand or personality, and enhance usability. Let's talk about a few concepts in visual design. First, we have information hierarchy. Information hierarchy is used to guide the user's attention. This is a very bad example of information hierarchy. Your eyes are faced with a block of text and no clear guidance on how to parse it. It's intimidating and many users won't even begin to read this. This is better, but still a little bad. We've broken up the block of text to make it more digestible, but there's no true hierarchy. Is the top block most important? Is the middle? Where should I start? Now things are getting better. We've maintained the new lines from the last iteration, but we've also added font weight, or boldness, and font size to distinguish between the headers. Now we have main headers and secondary headers, which allows us to clearly distinguish between what's most and least important. And this is good. We know exactly what is what. We've added the use of color, refined our use of the font weight and font size, and then also added a grid system. More on this later. This clearly has a header, subtext, secondary and tertiary headers, and paragraph text. We know exactly how to parse this, and the information is very digestible. Next, let's talk about color. Color is used to communicate a brand or personality. For a couple seconds, feel free to pause the video, think about what companies each of these color schemes represent. Did you get them right? And how many of them? Isn't that kind of awesome? The colors alone, without any words, were powerful enough to communicate the brands to us. Now let's talk about grid systems. Grid systems break up space into regular units. They also provide clarity, efficiency, economy, and continuity, and organize information on a page. Take our example from before. We have a clear grid, and this grid organizes our information and guides our users' eyes across the information, allowing them to parse the data efficiently. Now let's look at another familiar example, YouTube. We also have a clear grid here. On the top left, we have our video, the primary piece of information. Below that, we have the video name, some metadata, the channel name, and so on. Then we have a clear grid on the right, used to identify what other videos a user may be interested in. The use of a grid here allows our users to view the data on the screen in an organized way. Now let's do an activity. We'll be designing a resume. We actually have all the data for the resume here for you already, and you can also access it for the bit link on the screen. Your job will be to use information hierarchy, color, and grid systems to display this resume information in a way that establishes credibility, communicates a brand/personality, and enhances usability. Feel free to pause the video and do this activity quickly. Now let's discuss product design. This one's a bit easier. Product design is basically the act of designing a product. But let's take a step back and answer this question. What is a product truly? Take a couple seconds, feel free to pause the video to think about this. This is my definition. A product is a solution to a problem. More specifically, a product is a solution to a user's problem. Now, let's pretend we're a new product team, maybe at a startup. What are some of the problems we might face? For most new product teams, these are the issues they'll face: a lack of time, funding, and understanding of the customer. Like any other team, our job is to mitigate the problems we'll face. To do this, it's important to build efficiently, measure success, learn from the measurements, and repeat. We call this the build, measure, learn cycle. The idea is that you build a product, measure successes, learn from the success and failures, and then repeat. The key is that the faster you move, the better your product will get. Unfortunately, most of the time usually goes into building. So how can we build incredibly fast? Eric Rice, author of a really famous book called The Lean Startup, says that product teams should aim to build this: the version of a new product or service which allows a team to collect the maximum amount of validated learning about customers with the least effort. And he calls this the minimum viable product. It's the product which takes the least amount of time to develop but gives you the most amount of opportunity to learn. In practice, the MVP can mean a lot of different things. We're going to go through 5 different versions of an MVP to get the creative juices flowing and show you how little time you can put in and still learn a lot. We'll discuss wireframing, landing page, demo video, Wizard of Oz, and of course, a working prototype. For our purposes, a wireframe is a drawing. This drawing should have just enough information for you to ask meaningful questions. Let's say you're building an email client and you're deciding where to put the new email button. You can draw out a few versions and run a simple test where you show people the different wireframes and ask them to send a new email, taking note of any friction. For the purposes of testing, these wireframes don't have to be very refined. In fact, the rougher the sketch, the better. Many times, if users see a perfectly done wireframe, they'll not give you the honest feedback out of fear for hurting your feelings. However, if it's rough and they think you haven't put a lot of time into it, they'll be far more honest. And honest feedback is something that we want. Next, we have a landing page. Many times you have an idea, but you're not really sure people actually want to use it. In that case, you can spin up a simple landing page. On the landing page, you can describe your fake product or service and collect signups. Once a user has filled out the sign-up, you can thank them for their interest. This is a cheap and easy way to collect interest or lack thereof without actually building the entire solution. Next, we have demo videos. With today's computer editing softwares, people can even make transformers look real. So if that's the case, why don't we use those same software to make our solution look real? That way, we can create a real video demo of the solution that doesn't exist. Then we can go around and show it to people to gain insights about our idea without having to build the whole thing. There is software like Figma, InVision, and Adobe XD that make it possible to create web or mobile prototypes for demo videos. Lastly, let's discuss the Wizard of Oz. Anybody who's seen the Wizard of Oz, they know that the wizard isn't truly magic. Instead, he's a man sitting behind a curtain, making people think he's magic. For this MVP, we'll be doing the same thing. So imagine we want to build an e-commerce site. We can build the front end pretty easily, but the back end technology and business fulfillment processes required would take a ton of time and money to set up. Why don't we just build a front end that sends an email to you every time an order is made? Then when you get an email, you can just drive to the store, buy whatever the user ordered, and ship it to them. The user will think it was all done automatically, but really you're just running the whole show. Now let's do this activity within your teams for your problem. Using the problem and voted solution you had from design day 1, start to build your MVP. I'd recommend using the wireframing technique for this exercise. And once the wireframes are built, test them and take notes on what your subjects are telling you about your solution. After that, get back with your team and synthesize your learning to decide what you improve and how. Repeat this as many times as you like until you feel you have a solution ready to present and start developing. For further information on user experience and user interface, UX and UI for short, check out this video, Design the Interface. If you have any questions, make sure to reach out to us on Discord via the Solution Challenge channels as shown. Best of luck. Make sure to answer the prompt given to your team on Google Classroom. We can't wait to see all of your MVPs.